Hi everybody, this is David Craftmade. We're going to do a product assembly video for you today for that new Axel fan. It's a little bit more complex, has a little bit more parts than a normal fan. So we think this will really be a nice help for you guys on top of the normal instruction manual. So I hope this works, and here we go.
So this is the packaging when you receive it. When you're opening the box, please be careful not to cut too deep and damage any parts that are inside. So once you open the box, you'll see the instruction manual. Please be sure and take time to read that. It's incredibly important. It gives you all your electrical and wiring instructions there. Once you've opened it, you'll see there are many parts to this fan. So that's why we're going to walk you through how to assemble this product and hopefully have a successful install. So these are the LED ring segments along with the LED ring connectors and the parts packet that's in the box. Please take a few minutes to unpack all of this, kind of lay it out, and start putting it into a circle pattern so that it makes it easier to slide all the parts together. Once you have your parts coming together, take the white and yellow wire and face it towards the black and red wire of the next segment. You're going to connect these two together inside the LED connector. There's clearly marked what side to connect to each other. So once you put one of the connectors on, then you'll take your wire, kind of pull it through, and at this point do not put any screws in. Go ahead and make that wire connection, and it's very simple. You'll hear it click, it'll come right together for you, no problem. Once that's done, then go ahead and start putting the two parts together. So again, be gentle here. Don't want to bind up the wires or anything, and there's more than enough room in that coupler. So once you have it together, go ahead and put those 4 screws on. And make sure, do yourself a favor, through this whole assembly until the very end, do not tighten those screws down. Give it some play. Next up are the ring support arms. So there's 5 of them, but note that there's one special one that has the wires that run from the ring to the motor. These wires have the same color wires, red and black, white and yellow. Those correspond with the red and black and white and yellow in the ring. This is what it looks like when you put the assembly part on. So this is just to show you as a demo, but for right now, what we'd like for you to do is to try to pull a little bit of that wire through just to give yourself a little bit more play in the connection area, and we'll show you what that looks like. But don't pull so hard that you pull it out the other end. So once that's done, you'll go ahead and grab you one of the connectors and go ahead and slide that through, and so just the wires will push right through pretty gently, pretty easy. Once you've done that, then we recommend that you put a screw in place just to kind of stabilize the whole thing. And again, be careful, don't overly tighten anything right now. You want to have a little bit of play. Now that that's completed, you want to go ahead and finish the assembly. Unlike the other connections, in this area you're going to do the black and red wire to the black and red wire, and then on the other side you're going to do the white and yellow wire to the other white and yellow wire. This will make the connection for the wires going through the support arm to the motor. At this point, go ahead and gently start sliding everything together. Again, being careful that you don't crimp any of the wires. There's plenty of room in that assembly for those wires. Once you finish that assembly, go ahead and grab the motor. This is the motor where the blades will go. And this is also where the support arms will slide in. If you'll note, we have matching wires here as well. This is where you have to make the final wire connection for the ring. So they'll slide through that hole there, come up through, and that'll hold the pull into place. It also has some other support features that we'll get to in just a second. So go ahead and take those screws out. At this point, you're going to want to have to go into your screw pack and go ahead and get the ring support plate. This little black plate will slide over the arm and gives it an extra support and rigidity for the support arms. So you'll want to take those screws out. Once that's done, go ahead, slide in the first arm. And like I said, be gentle here, especially with the wires. You just don't want to pinch them or cause yourself any other problems there. Go ahead and put your screw in. This will help stabilize it while you're making the final wire connections for the ring itself. So once you get that done, then you want to go ahead and make those connections. Now, those connections will be black and red together. So you want to take the black and red coming out of the motor and connect it to the black and red that are in the going into the pipe. So black and red and white and yellow, you just match those up. They'll snap right in, and it's super easy. Next, you want to put the support plate on. So go ahead and do that. You'll put that on there. It'll cover that little bit of opening there, and also, like I said, give the arm a lot of strength when it's connected to the motor. Like with the rest of the parts, at this point you don't want to over tighten these screws. You want to get all parts assembled to make it much easier on yourself to have to move around the motor or make little tweaks here and there so that everything comes together really nice. So once you've got one of those support arms in, this is what it looks like. So nice and clean, easy to do. So now go ahead and we'll start assembling the rest of the support arms. When you're assembling the rest of the support arms, you want to go ahead and put the motor side in first, put your set screw in, and then go and put your ring side in after that. Again, leaving the screws. So now that you have this final assembly done, it's time to go ahead and tighten all of those screws. So you want to go around and firm up all the screws, all the ones in the motor housing, all of the connecting brackets, and all of the ones that hold the support arms onto the ring. Once you're done with that, you should have a pretty firm assembly. So next step in the process is putting the down rod, canopy, motor housing cover all together. So very important, you want to remove the safety pin and the cotta pin, set it to the side. Then you want to back out the additional set screws that lock the down rod in place. So next up, go ahead and grab all of the related parts that you need for this part of the assembly. So you'll have the motor housing cover, the down rod and ball, the canopy, and the canopy cover ring. If you'll notice, the motor housing cover has two holes that correspond with two screws on the motor housing themselves. Go ahead and remove those at this point. Next up is taking apart the ball and down rod. This is important to be able to get all the wires through. So go ahead and loosen that up, and you'll notice there's another safety pin here. These things are critically important for the safety of the product and redundancy to make sure everything assembles properly. So once you have the ball removed, go ahead and get all the wires through the down rod and start threading it onto the yoke. you'll notice that the down rod had 2 holes. Those holes correspond with the safety pin that you pulled out. So the yoke also has 2 matching holes. You want to screw that down, line those up, and once you've done that, grab your safety pin again, pull the cotta pin, don't lose that, and then start working the safety pin in. It will be a little bit of a challenge to get it through there. There's a lot of wires, but it'll go. So just gently kind of rock it back and forth and it'll slide through. Then put the cotta pin on. Once you've done that, then go ahead and grab your screwdriver and lock down those screws. So this is 3 points of safety here with our fans. The screw in of the down rod to the yoke, the safety pin, which is critical, you must put that in, and then locking down those screws. Once all of that's done, you'll notice that it's extremely rigid. Now you're going to go ahead and put the housing cover over and go ahead and line those screws up with the 2 mounting areas. This is why we told you to take those screws out just a few minutes ago. Put those on. Now you have the ring for the canopy cover. Go ahead and just slide that on over. And then next up, go ahead and just slide that canopy down as well. Next up is putting the ball back on top of the down rod. So once you do that, slide it through, go ahead and get that safety pin back through those holes. Again, just kind of move those wires around a little bit, jiggle it, and it'll slide right through. Line that back up with the grooves in the ball, and then lock it down. This is critically important to make sure to use the safety pins. Once you lock that down, you'll notice that it should be all very snug and very tight. So this is a product assembly video, not a wiring video. We really want to focus on the product assembly here. So if you're doing this at home, that mounting bracket will go on a standard junction box. It lines right up. Go ahead and use the screws that are in the junction box to put the canopy in place, or I'm sorry, put the bracket in place, and then hang your fan. At this point, if you're not an electrician, you need to make sure to turn all the power off to the junction box before you do any wiring. Next up is blade assembly. You're going to need a few parts for this. You'll need the blade plate, you'll need the motor screws, and a blade. So once you have these parts together, you'll notice that the blade says this side up. That's very important. You'll also note that the blade has a ridge in the mounting area. That will correspond with the motor and the ridges on the motor. So go ahead and take the blade plate and 1 screw. This is just an assembly trick to make it easier on yourself. This is how we do it. So once you get all of that done and in place, you just go ahead and hop up the ladder and line up your first blade. So you'll see the ridges in the flywheel. Go ahead and line that up with the ridge on the blade. Get your first screw in there. And don't tighten it all the way down. You want to leave it a little loose for the next screw so that it's easy to line it up with the flywheel. So you'll grab your next screw and go ahead and put that one in. Once you get that started and get it going, at this point you'll want to lock down the screws. You want to put them in extremely firm. You want them as tight as you can get them so that you don't have any vibration or looseness in the blade. Once that's complete, you want to go ahead and get your fitter plate, and you'll notice that there's 3 screws around that Molex connector. You want to loosen 2 of those screws and take 1 completely out. They'll correspond with the keyhole slots and the 1 hole in the plate. So once you've done that, go ahead and pull that Molex connector through. Line up those keyhole slots with the screws you left in there that you loosened up, slide it into place. It's loose at this point. That's okay. You want to be able to put that 1 screw that doesn't have the keyhole slot in, that kind of locks it down. So tighten that up and then tighten the others. Next is the connecting plate. Same thing here. Go ahead and pull the Molex connector through, loosen up your screws, slide it on there, and then put your 1 set screw back in. and tighten them all down. Finally, you want your metal cover plate with the LED driver in it. It has a Molex connector as well. If you'll notice, the Molex connectors have matching colors. Make sure you line those up. It's a little firm. Lock it in there. You'll hear it clip. Once that's clipped into place and connected properly, then go ahead and line up the slots and go ahead and lock your canopy cover in place. So it's really a great product. I know it assembles a little bit different than a normal ceiling fan, but if you have a little bit of patience, it's well worth it. Again, please use a certified electrician to make your electrical connections. If you're doing it yourself, please turn all the power off to that junction box at your breakers.
So I hope you found that video helpful. It's a great product, it's a great looking fan, and we'll do more product assembly videos in the future, so hope this worked out well.